Welcome to Subramani. Let me warn you, this is likely to be a pretty long video because it is a little of a raving, ranting, which I'm going to do. Here is a list of, I would say, circumstances or case studies where I've given very good quality advice, but when the person came to me, he never came with the intention of paying me for that advice. So there was no question of me asking for fees, nor case of the client or friend giving the fees. So let me give you circumstances in which all this happened. So first is a friend was trying to buy a house. Let me not tell you which location. This was long back, about 15 years back must be, or at least 12 years back. He wanted to buy a house. His wife was being very fussy, and she kept saying no to most of the houses which he was showing. At last, lo and behold, he finalized one house, and that was in a good location in one of the western suburbs of Mumbai, and it was expensive in the sense that it was, I think, upwards of 2-3 crores, and I'm talking of 12 years back or 15 years back. So fairly obvious that after a long time he had liked the house, liked the building, liked the location, and his wife liked the house. That is more important. And one step inside the house and one step away from the decision, he calls me, bad luck of his, and says, I've got this house and I'm about to buy it. I said, hold on, because this was a time, I remember the market was up. So which means he didn't need to take any borrowing. Some of the shares which we had bought together had gone up, and I knew he was selling that and buying the house. So I said, find out who are the people who are giving in the loans. So there were a couple of banks, a couple of PSU banks, and I asked specifically, is HDFC Limited in that list? He said no. I said, that itself made me suspicious. I said, will you go and please ask him why it is not there? So he said, no, couple of people defaulted, so I have been blacklisted. To me, that was a warning signal that if somebody is blacklisted by a housing company, let me probe a little further. So thankfully, I knew some of the I knew which numbers to punch on my phone. So I punched and I got back to the client after talking to this person and said, you will not buy with that builder, because that builder is unlikely to get the municipal clearance. Huge advice. He would never have been able to salvage that house. He would never have been able to sell it. And at least 6-7 years after this incident, I knew he had not got the BMC license. Such a house is very difficult to sell. Case number one. Case number two, another young boy wanting to buy a house in these suburbs, farthest suburbs, Panvel. He wanted to buy a house, and he had finalized the house, and he called me and his wife called me and said, I want to buy. I said, hold on. I knew that builder was headed towards bankruptcy. So I said, look, he's headed towards bankruptcy. You will not buy under construction with that builder, because he's in financial trouble. You will not, I don't mind if you buy it outright, and that also you will buy it only with a loan, because you do not know in desperate situations what a builder can do. He can sell the same flat to 4 people, right? So I didn't want any of this shit. So then that builder actually went into bankruptcy. Case number 2. Case number 3. This was real estate. A friend comes to me and says, look, a friend of mine is chartered a taxi service business. He wants me to invest in that. And I said, how? He said, no, he's starting it as a sole proprietor, so he wants me to buy 2-3 cars and give it to him, and he will employ drivers and keep it and all that. So I will get the depreciation and he will pay me some cash, some check, and should I do it? So I said, take a deep breath and tell me, how long has this guy been your friend? So he said, 4 years. I said, you're 48 years of age and you have a friend who is 4 years into this relationship, which means you know him for the last 4 years. And that too, you know him because you've used his taxi service, etc., and nothing more than that. He's not your friend, colleague, classmate, schoolmate, cousin, nothing like that. He said, no, nothing like that. I just know him like this. He's casually. I'm quite shocked at especially at salespeople who are so quick to close on investment decisions without application of brain at all. This guy is a big sales guy, he's a big shot, hotshot sales guy on a salary of maybe 70-80 lakhs and incentives of 50-60 lakhs, so 1.5 crores at the age of 48, which is a good salary. I said, how do you come to these conclusions? How do you come to these decisions? I said, do you realize what he's doing is leveraging on your balance sheet to borrow for himself? Another 3-4 cars, he can't get a loan from a HDFC bank or an ICICI bank or a Kotak bank, and therefore he has come to you and done this. You will not have an agreement with him. You will just own those vehicles which he will manage. If there is an accident, everything comes on to you. Do you realize how much impact it can have? Because I know a doctor friend who had done this stupid thing of buying a car and giving it on hire. The driver hit somebody, killed somebody, ran away, and this doctor spent more money on police and lawyers than the price of the car. Maybe it was car into 2 is the amount of money that he spent. So I said, no way, you're not touching it. And all this happened 3-4 years ago, and now during COVID that guy is in deep trouble. No, I did not know that COVID was coming in 2021 when I said no to this, maybe 2017, 2018. But that guy was saved from disaster, right? So why would you do something which you don't understand? Now again, what I'm saying is none of this advice you can get paid for. There's no way to quantify. He may have even forgotten that he had brought such a harebrained scheme to me. At least the boy who brought the housing thing, he has completely forgotten. He's bought a house. I said, good, no, I saved you there. He didn't even remember because there is nothing written down, there is nothing documented, there is nothing visible. You just said no. If I had said yes to an investment and that investment had done well, he would at least remember that I bought this because of him. But I said no because of an advisor. You will not get compensated for that. It is just out of love for the client or for doing the right thing in life that you do these things. You will not get compensated. So let me go to the 4th case. One client came and said, I have got this fantastic pre-IPO offer and should I take it? But the minimum size is 10 lakhs. I said no. He said, you haven't even looked at it. I said no, simple, because on your net worth of 2.5 crores, can you commit to 10 lakhs locked in for 3 years? Answer is no. As simple as that. I mean, he had a net worth of 2.5 crores plus of course he had a house. And he was about 41, 42, so which is not bad. It is not that he was a garib admi, he was well off. But I said, you can't afford it. You just don't know when the IPO will come, right? So that IPO has still not come. This is about a 3-year-old story. Maybe now it will come when everything is booming. But for 3 years, if your 10 lakhs is stuck, and you do not know when it will, when the IPO will come, it's a bad decision. Right now, a lot of us who are in the bank BFSI space would be sitting on a lot of such offers, right? A lot of NBFCs, subsidiaries of big banks, etc. are all available, floating around in the market saying, Subra, minimum 50 lakhs, minimum 20 lakhs, minimum 20 lakhs. Why the hell would you touch it? How do I get paid for saying no? I don't get paid. So that's it, end of story. Another case, which is Subra, my current CTC is 1 crore per annum. I have an excellent offer from a big infrastructure agglomerate which is also into building and construction on a salary of 35 lakhs plus 2.5 lakh shares of his company, which is worth about 45-50 lakhs. And he says he will give me that many shares every year for the next 3-4 years. So I will have about 5-6 crores worth of his equity, but I have to take a cut in my salary. And I was amused because I said, looking at your lifestyle, you cannot live on 30 lakhs. You have got accustomed to a 1 crore salary, which after tax and all comes to about 5.5 lakhs a month. I said, you need that kind of cash because you've got a high standard of living. How much will you drop? I don't know. And a housing and infrastructure company quoting at a premium for a North Indian company, I said probability is very, very low. Today, if a big corporate like an HDFC or maybe an ICICI or SBI were to float a housing company or some finance company, some chance it will get respect. Will a small company get that kind of a respect at all? So will a small company get any respect at all in the market? Will it get listed? Will it ever be in the public space? Or if it is already in the public space, will you ever get a chance to sell off 10-20 lakhs in a jiffy? Taking compensation like that makes sense only over and above the salary that you deserve, or maybe you take a small cut in salary because you live a simple life. If you live a life where you need maybe 30,000-40,000 a month, but you're earning 10 lakhs a month, let's say, then taking a cut in salary is possible. But if you're earning 5 lakhs a month and you have an expense and EMI etc. of 4.5 lakhs a month, where is the space for taking a cut? So that was the reason why I said don't take, and today that group is in trouble, because like all NBFCs and infrastructure companies and finance companies, that company is also in trouble. That's luck. I didn't know that that company would get into trouble, but I just said from a cash flow point of view, you just can't afford it. Now the COVID has brought another set of problems. There is this guy who is about 56 years of age, or 55, 56 years of age, who came and asked me that, look, I think I have enough money and I want to quit, and I want to do something more meaningful in life. Typically what we would call Smashan Vairagyam, because two of his friends and one wife of a friend had all died of COVID. So suddenly our man started questioning values in life, and what is the value of life? Why should I live? What if I die tomorrow? I wouldn't have served the society, blah blah blah. All this is good, all this is great, but he didn't have the cash flow to sustain, right? He is very close to retirement. If he's kicked out of his job, I would still suggest that he take up a smaller paying job. But at a net worth of about 2.25 crores, he was just not ready for a full-fledged retirement. He was capable of getting jobs outside. So I said, forget retiring at 53, 54. You don't have the capability to retire even at 65 because of the mess that you have made with past losses. He's paid for some 40-50 lakhs of past losses of his brother, and financially life is a mess. But somehow these people think, oh, my requirements are not high, I need only 40,000-50,000 a month. I said, just write down your expenses. He and his wife had come, and his wife suddenly comes up with this and that, an annual vacation, etc. And they were spending about 1.25 lakhs a month. I am not getting into his 1.25 too high or too low. And then there were EMIs to be considered. He was shocked when he realized that he was not spending 40,000-50,000 a month, but he was spending 1.25 lakhs. Expensive schooling, expensive eating out, all those things. Don't take your COVID related year and say, oh, my expenses are down. You will not be able to maintain this lifestyle, right? So take into consideration all that. Sorry, I'm digressing. But yeah, again, you don't get paid for this advice. You spend time, you convince him, you're playing psychologist, friend, financial advisor, blogger, everything. You're spending half a day with him, or at least 2-3 hours with him, convincing him. And half my battle is won if the wife thinks it's a stupid, harebrained idea. So, but the problem is when the wife is also saying, oh, let him quit, let him do something, let him do what his heart wants, then I get into more trouble. The women are more sensible, at least they listen. These guys, once they make up their mind, it's like, to me, a 40-year-old taking decisions, and I can say, look, idiot, you can't afford it, because I'm older than him. But when people are my age, I find it far more difficult to communicate bluntly. But I say, boss, I'm blunt enough to say, teri औकात nahi hai ye karne mein. So, another story. A friend comes and says, Subra, my banker is offering me this PMS, should I invest? I said, no. So he said, you don't even know the product. I said, yeah, but I know you. So on a net worth of 2-3 crores, you cannot afford to put away 50 lakhs in a fund run by your banker, which is actually being managed by another banker. If you guys have guessed the names, great. Otherwise, I'm not in the mood to give you the names. I said, this is a complete disastrous PMS of a real estate. You will never make money. This is about 10 years ago or 7 years ago when he came. That fund has just not done well. It has not made money for the AMC or for the bank, or for maybe it's made money maybe for the builder, or maybe not for him also. They bought properties in various places, they're unable to sell it, they're unable to rent it, and they're stuck very badly. I didn't know this was going to happen, right? I didn't know the future, but I knew him. On a 2.5 crore net worth, you don't put away 50 lakhs locked in for 7 years. You just can't afford it. Please understand, when somebody comes and offers you an alternate product, AIF or a PMS, it is not meant for people with less than 10-15 crores of net worth, and 10 to 15 is a big gap. So unless you are in that category of 15 crores, let me put it more, make it more difficult. Do not look at products of 1 crore or 50 lakhs or 2 crores which is stuck for 7 years, 8 years, right? These are high upfront cost products. If they don't make money for you and for the fund and for the manager, nothing is going to reach you. The hurdle rates are difficult to achieve. You are very, very unlikely to make money, right? So yes, again another negative brief for which I wouldn't get paid. Then another one was another friend got an offer from his classmate who's extremely rich and running a venture capital fund. Now, when you're running a venture capital fund, you want real rich people to invest in you. Don't take that offer to your classmates in school and college. They may not be on that same category as your investors, right? So if you have investors who buy $30 million yachts and things like that, don't expect your classmate earning maybe a couple of crores to be interested in that. If your friend is earning a couple of million, he shouldn't even be talking to you about investing at all. So here was a guy who was wanting to put money in a venture fund, and I was shocked that he was bringing a venture fund to me, because he didn't have the ability to understand the venture nor the cash flow to invest in such a product, right? How people even bring this, really, I don't understand. Next was a guy who said, Subra, I have been offered a product, should I buy it? I said, send me the mail and I'll have a look. So he said, I'll send it on WhatsApp. I said, no, send it on mail. So he sent it on mail, and the subject matter itself said some life insurance company. So I just said no. He said, but you have not even seen the mail. I said, no, because I know one thing, if it's coming from an insurance company, it has to be either an insurance product or a pension product. You need neither. Your children are settled, so you don't need insurance. You have adequately provided for pension, so you don't need a pension plan. And these are the only two products that insurance company can give. So it does not require a PhD in finance to tell you that you should not be touching these products, because you don't need it. It doesn't matter what your RM wants to sell, but you don't need it. You don't need medical insurance, you have it. You don't need term insurance, you have it. You don't need a pension plan, you have it, right? So once all your requirements are met, stop browsing for products. Don't look, don't talk, don't entertain people, because then they will think you're interested. You're not interested. Your body language, your tongue should all speak the same language and say no, but thanks, but no. That's important. So here I am struggling with all such cases where I have not even asked for fees, because I wouldn't even know how to ask for fees. How much fees? What have I saved him from? I mean, the guy who was buying a house for 2 crores, I saved him exactly that amount. I've saved him 2 crores. So 1% of that would be 2 lakhs as a fees. Is it too high? I don't know, right? So here is work which I do because I love the people who ask me these questions. So I solve the problem. I don't even know how to bill, so I can't crib about not getting paid, right? Thank you.